Welcome back to the Twin Spires Racing Roundtable. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Vance Hanson. Today we're going to debut a new format now that the road to the Kentucky Derby and Oaks are heating up. We'll give out grades to the winners of the prep races from the past weekend in our Road to the Kentucky Derby report card. We'll round out the show with topic 3A, what else / racing rants on what we want to highlight from the last week of racing or racing in general, just what we want to talk about, get on our soapbox a little bit. But to start out, James, we had our fillies race, the Silverbulletday Stakes at Fairgrounds, and Taken by the Wind got the win, 20 points toward the Oaks leaderboard as well. What grade do you give Kenny McPeek's 3-year-old filly and the race in general?
Well, I'm going to give the race a C, and I'll just say this. I'll give Taken by the Wind credit for showing courage to hold on in deep stretch and coming back from a layoff with a victory like she did on race in September. But these Oaks and Derby preps that are won on a walking pace just mean little in my estimation. It's impossible to really take too much away from a falsely run race like this where she runs her opening quarter mile in almost 26 seconds, proceeds to go 50 and change in 114 and 0.49. That track was playing fast. There were a couple of 6 furlong winners before the Silverbulletday and 109 and change. It wasn't a slow playing racetrack per se, and this pace was just completely unrealistic. The other reason I'm going to take a little bit of a knock with Taken by the Wind, unlike Golden Tempo's making his first stakes appearance, this was her second stakes attempt, and her victory in the Pocahontas, which she was coming out of, was a slow race. It just was. She ran her final quarter mile. That race had a more legitimate pace, and she came home in 26 and change. He got a low number in the 80s, just like the Silverbulletday. So, now that she's got a body of work, she's never run a speed rating of 90 or better from 3 starts. So she's going to have to run a little bit faster to confirm herself as a serious Oaks contender, in my estimation. So I'm going to give this race a C, and we'll see how Taken by the Wind and the others can do in future races that have a legitimate pace.
It's a passing grade, but it's average.
Right.
Vance, do you agree?
No, I'm going to give it a little bit of a higher grade, and I'll give it a B, not because of Taken by the Wind, who James correctly said won this on a false pace, but the two fillies immediately behind her, Love Your Neighbor and Atropa, obviously I thought both of them were extremely compromised. Love Your Neighbor for the second consecutive race at Fairgrounds. Her jockey had lost the irons in the Untappable Stakes last month and just didn't get the pace to run at here. Atropa making her first start since a good second in the Goldenrod Stakes. Both of these fillies were very much compromised by, as James noted, the false pace of the Silverbulletday. So I think there's two quality fillies in behind Taken by the Wind here. I'm not giving up on either one of them just yet. I don't know whether they'll show up in the Rachel Alexandra or maybe one of them will go to Oaklawn next. But I'll give them another shot to turn themselves into Kentucky Oaks quality contenders. So despite the falseness of the race, I'll give the race a B.
Well, both the Lecomte and the Silverbulletday, they earned 114 race ratings from Bristnet, but you all talked about it. I don't know what else you can say about it. Very slow, a 25 and 3/5 opening fraction, you got 50 and 1/5. Very slow pedestrian pace that Taken by the Wind was able to set and get away with. And she did, with the pressure from both sides, she dug in and won. So I gave her points for that. But I was leaning toward a C as well for the race. And really for the performance, I'd give Taken by the Wind maybe more of a B minus. But Kenny McPeek seems very high on this horse. He probably would give her an A. And he had a lot to say after the race about the bureaucratic nightmare to even make the race because she was on the vets list after the Pocahontas, and he said that she would have won the Alcibiades, which I don't know, but he said that she would have won the Alcibiades and had a grade 1 already and could have gone to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, but there was a little bit of a logistical nightmare in getting her back to the track. So coming off the layoff, I guess you got to give her credit for that too, but overall, not the most exciting of the racing going on at Fairgrounds on Saturday. We did have our grade 3 Lecomte for Open Company for our 3-year-olds, and 20 points goes to the winner of that as well on the road to the Kentucky Derby. That was Golden Tempo, who was in last at one point in the race and had a late rally to win. Vance, what do you give the grade for the Grade 3 Lecomte?
I'll give it a C. The comp just doesn't have the cachet typically that the Risen Star and Louisiana Derby do. So, with that said, you really can't give it too much of a high grade in general, year in and year out. And Golden Tempo obviously ran a very good race. Give him credit for coming back, winning his two-turn debut, first start in the stakes, coming off a debut win, going 6 furlongs. But all in all, this was a relatively slow effort. From both the clock and from a speed rating perspective. So, um, the horses immediately behind him, I don't think aren't quite up to snuff. Mesquite obviously has some upside to him coming off of a good effort in his previous start. The third place finisher, it took 4 starts for him to break his maiden, so this was not a above average renewal of the Lecomte. So just by default, I'm giving it a C rating.
James, what about you?
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to give it a B. And I'm just going to say to go from a 6 furlong, last the first debut win on December 20th and come back 4 weeks later and go last the first in a 10 horse mile and a 16th Lecomte field is pretty darn impressive in my mind. He was on a tight schedule to even come back. You see a lot of first out maiden winners get more time. And the race didn't come back like Vance alluded to. That's a very fair point. I mean, these horses have to run fast at some point to prove that they're good enough to win the Derby. But by the same token, at this point in the year, in mid-January, the most important thing for these 3-year-olds is to keep improving, to keep progressing. And when I watched this race live on Saturday evening, and then I watched the replay a couple more times since then, it's easy to see that this Golden Tempo, to me, he's still green. He's still showing signs of immaturity. I mean, they're going down the backstretch towards the far turn, and Jose Ortiz is asking him to go, and he's basically idling and losing ground and retreating seemingly. And then the same thing when he makes this big move off the turn, he angles the inside. It looked like he was going to easily win, I thought, approaching mid-stretch, and he sort of idled a little bit. But then he got it back in gear. He wins going away by 3/4 of a length. To me, he didn't have to run a huge fast number in your second start. You just don't have to run fast. You just have to keep running faster. And sometimes these early season 3-year-olds run too fast too soon and they have nowhere to go. So I look at like Sierra Leone. He shipped to Fairgrounds 2 years ago for a season opener. He wins the Risen Star. He runs a 93. He ran much faster in his upcoming starts. Even Two Phils, he ran twice at Fairgrounds a year previous to that at 22 and ran a 93 and a 94 in those races. So both horses can improve at this time of year. And when I look at the way that Golden Tempo ran, he has an enormous room for improvement and could really come on, I think, for Cherie DeVaux. Vance mentioned Mesquite. I did like his effort. First race since November 7th when he broke his maiden. And Carson Street chased a hot pace in that race and held on well for third coming off a maiden win. So I'm giving those 3. The rest of the field I don't have any opinion about, but I'll take a positive look at all 3, the top 3 finishers in the Lecomte.
I ended up going with a B minus again for this race too. And you brought up the good points, James, that you don't have to have these big speed figures, but it is a little concerning if you look at Pool 3, which we'll talk about later. A lot of the horses in Pool 3 have much better speed figures, and some of them had them by their second start. But as you're saying, you could run a little bit too high of figures too early on and then have nowhere to go. But for Golden Tempo, second time that he had a little bit of a slow start, so he does need to improve on that. But overall, it was an impressive win. And Mesquite, that was your pick and my pick, and the jury were pretty close. And he looks like he has a lot of upside too. I give him a B for his performance. But it was the third slowest time in the last 10 years of the Grade 3 Lecomte. The 2 slower times were Instant Coffee, who ran in 1:45 and change on a fast track in 2023, and then Disco Time, actually, who we'll see running in the Pegasus World Cup, ran in 147 over a sloppy sealed track. So the fact that, I mean, Golden Tempo coming from off the pace, that does kind of affect the time for him as well. But the fact that it's also one of the slower times over a fast track, a little bit concerning, and why my grade's not an
Yeah,
A, that's for sure. And
we're
more
looking
on
just at the
that B
Derby, and
minus.
those two examples you provided are right on the mark because neither one of those horses were serious Derby contenders.
Yeah. Well, that's true. So maybe there's more upside here for Golden Tempo, but I'm not quite sure where I see him right now. There are other horses that, like you're seeing on the points leaderboard right now, some other horses that have shown me a little bit more, but it is very early days in his first try at 2 turns and first time against Stakes Company too. So that, considering that, it was an impressive performance coming off a 6 furlong maiden special weight. So. Well, to close out, we are going to talk about something of interest in horse racing. Maybe it's a rant you have. Maybe it's just something that you would like to talk about that you saw from this past weekend. So I will start with you, James.
Yes, well, I'm going to mention I thought there were 3 performances from 3-year-olds on the undercard. All of them got, I mean, none of them got the 86 speed rating that Golden Tempo got, but they all potentially have some going. Britt Jackson Hole won a mile and a 16th allowance. Non-winners one other than allowance on the, after breaking his maiden in mid-December for Todd Pletcher at Gulfstream. He came back and I thought ran a really nice race. He won by 5.5. He ran 144 and change. We're talking about the Lecomte being about 145, a little bit less than a second slower. So definitely one to watch for Pletcher going forward. He's by Nyquist out of a Bernardini mare. And, Bernardini, Broodmare Sire Sovereignty last year. Reagan's Honor broke his maiden. He, like Golden Tempo, ran on December 20th for Cherie DeVoe. He ran fourth first time out at 6 furlongs and really improved going 2 turns. Reagan's Honor did. His dam is a half sister to 2005 Kentucky Derby winner Giacomo. And considering how well he ran going 2 turns Saturday and a maiden win for DeVoe, he's got a future. And then Knock It Off. He's by Vacoma, but he's got a real stamina-infused female family, and he looked good breaking his maiden first out for Asmussen at 6 furlongs. He got a 97 figure, 109 and change. Could be a talented runner moving forward. Knock It Off. So Jackson Hole, Reagan's Honor, Knock It Off. 3-year-olds to watch from the undercard.
A big day for Cherie DeVoe at the fairgrounds.
It was
the 1-2 finish in the Lecomte, and then I thought Reagan's Honor looked really good. We talked about that race in the jury as well, and actually Oselli was supposed to run in the could have run in the Lecomte, but was cross-entered in that race, and I think finished top 3 to Reagan's second. Okay, yeah. So one for Whit Beckman as well. Vance, what do you want to talk about?
No, you're right. Third. Sorry.
That's okay. I couldn't remember. It's been a while since I looked at it, but Vance, what do you have to say about horse racing from this week or maybe from some time in the past?
Well, it is Eclipse Award week, and every Eclipse Award year I think back to 1997, which is now 28 years, and one of the biggest disappointments for me was in the champion older male category that year. We had 3, if not more, real good horses competing in that division. And Skip Away wound up winning the Eclipse Award for champion older male, but undoubtedly he was, in my opinion, he was the 3rd best older horse to run that particular season. And the head-to-head matchups he had between him and Gentleman and him and Formal Gold proved that beyond a reasonable doubt for me. Gentleman and Skip Away faced each other one time. That was in the Pimlico Special. Gentleman won that race, giving Skip Away 3 pounds. Gentleman went on to also won the Hollywood Gold Cup and Pacific Classic that year. His campaign was cut short after running 5th in the Woodbine Mile. I don't know why Dick Mandela ran a 1.25 mile dirt horseback on turf going a mile, but that was the end of his season. He didn't make the Breeders' Cup Classic. Formal Gold didn't make the Breeders' Cup Classic either, but he raced against Skip Away 6 times and finished in front of him 4 times, including a 5 1/2 length win in the Woodward Stakes when both of them were carrying equal weights. So Skip Away did close out his season on a huge note. He won the Jockey Club Gold Cup easily against a very poor field, in my opinion. And then he won the Breeders' Cup Classic in record time, but there was no gentleman in that race. There was no formal gold in that race. And the top 3-year-olds of that year weren't there either. Silver Charm, Captain Bodget, Freehouse, nowhere to be found. Skip Away, I looked it up. He won 145 first place votes out of 295 cast. That's 49% plurality. But to me, I mean, if you compare the head to head records, Gentleman was number 1, Formal Gold number 2, Skip Away number 3.
Are you expecting any upsetting picks from the Eclipse Awards on Thursday?
There always is for me, but none that will compare to 1997, which I have to admit was 2 years before I got my first ballot. So, I didn't get to participate in that, so my opinion didn't really matter then. But it's one that I will always be disappointed at.
Speaking of Eclipse Awards, we did have Ted Nafi in Pool 3 this weekend, which closed on Sunday. We are 15 weeks away from the Kentucky Derby, and it was no surprise that Ted Nafi was our top individual choice at 6-1. He is, I would say, pretty likely to win that 2-year-old champion on Thursday at the Eclipse Awards. But some people do question if he's going to be able to handle 1.25 miles on the first Saturday in May. Other notable results, we had all of the 3-year-olds close as a 7-2 favorite, top choice. And then other horses who attracted betting attention, Chad Brown's Paladin, who was 14-1. We had Chief Wallaby for trainer Bill Mott at 17-1, a recent debut winner at Gulfstream Park. I personally preferred Thunderously, number 37, who opened at 60-1 but closed at 22-1. So not too far off a stablemate. I was looking at hoping to get a little bit better value on Thunderously, but public was also interested in that Bill Mott horse, obviously reigning Kentucky Derby winning trainer. So he's gonna get some respect in these pools. But another horse who generated a ton of buzz was Commandment. A lot of people have been excited. A lot of our colleagues have been excited about Commandment and just dominated the Mucho Macho Man, closed at 23-1. A little rant for me, though, is about a horse who rhymes with rant, and that is Brant. That is the top Bob Baffert runner, closed at 23-1. But I'm not convinced this horse is going to go 1.25 miles. Only have 3 starts to go off of. Damn Sire is Liam's map. I mean, it's not that you can't still produce a horse that's going to run in the Derby. We saw Burnham Square with a pedigree with Liam's map show up in the Derby last year. But looking at how this horse, his run style, he's a front runner. We saw him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I don't see it. I would rather go with Desert Gate if I'm going to go with a Baffert runner in Pool 3. But right now I'm kind of feeling up in the air about any of the horses we saw from Pool 3 that are in Baffert's barn, but I'm just not sold at all on Brant. He's kind of making me think about Barnes from last year. I don't know what you all think about Brant. Do you think he's a 1.25 mile horse?
No chance. I'm completely dubious of him. I thought the other horse you did mention that got bet down, he was 50-1 on the morning line, was Nearly. He's by
yeah, that's right.
I think he's out of a Bernadette mare. I don't have him in front of me, but he's running in the Holy Bull a week from this coming Saturday. So we're going to get to see him here soon, and could be a good one for Pletcher.
I missed your point. My internet's been bad all day.
I just said that Nearly's running in the Holy Bull, and could be a good one for Pletcher.
Yeah, he's out of a mine shaft mare.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, short and sweet on the round table today. That's all the time we have today, but we will be back next Tuesday probably to talk about the Eclipse Awards and, well, Pegasus World Cup as well. So we'll see you then.